how does admitting to the condition, if one may say admitting is probably not the right word, but how does openly recognizing the condition affect a soldier's possible military career?
This is the problem, because it's unlikely they'll have a diagnosis made while in uniform. What normally happens, and I've been talking to a lot of veterans who are still in service, that they end up getting discharged, unfit for duty, and then they're put outside, get their resettlement package, and off they'll go back into Civvy Street, carrying this with them. And then they're at the mercies of a very overstretched NHL service, who themselves find it difficult to deal with complex post-traumatic stress disorder as suffered by servicemen. Their level of awareness is not quite there yet. It's afterwards where the problems begin. Not in theatre, as they say, it's afterwards. It's when people get home, back after life-changing experiences, they get back to their families, back to their loved ones, and back to what we term as normal society, the society that both you and I live in, where we've got supermarkets, high street shops, people walking up and down the streets, doing so safely. And most servicemen will go through that adjustment after a deployment. But then from that adjustment comes the trauma that they've actually been through, this realisation that the body is still on hyper alert, because the experiences have been so profound that the mind believes that this experience could happen at any time. So you've got triggers that could set a person off. It could be a loud noise, it could be a certain smell, it could be all sorts of triggers that may associate that person with that moment of trauma. They will come back and set the same set of circumstances off again that put that person into the life-threatening situation that he was in, with adrenaline pumping through their body. And this can happen at any time. Someone suffering from acute post-traumatic stress disorder, they're going through 4 or 5, 6 panic attacks every day, sleeplessness, followed by depression, avoidance, so on and so forth. If people knew the full impact, or were aware of the full impact of PTSD upon the person, they would be out there wanting to help them. That's their human nature. But because it's an invisible wound, people are not able to see what's happening inside that person's head and what that person is going through. And I want to extend this also. It's not just the individual who suffers, it's their families too. Their loved ones, their wives, children, the people who are associated with them, and the effect it has on their career or any job that they may have. So it's a domino effect on a person's life, and it can be quite disastrous. There was a friend of mine said the other day, the British Army is really good when you're in it. You've got your ID card, you know, you're part of a club of people, you know, some of the best friends you'll ever meet in your life. You'll do some extraordinary things while you're in it, and then suddenly it's your time to go. And then your ID card is taken off you, but nobody's going to come back and give you a civilian ID card, you know. So there's this re-entry back into society, which is another aspect that needs to be closely looked at. And this is why, you know, certain PTSD researchers are looking at post-traumatic stress disorder in a very new light now. You know, it's a complex thing. A person has come from society, he's went into the military, he's come back from the military. When he goes into the military, he gets trained to be a soldier, a sailor, or an airman. When he leaves the military, then he has to be trained again to re-enter society. Now that's where the process should be taking place. And even while they're in service, especially when they're coming back from action in Afghanistan, that sort of thing, where proper psychiatric and medical treatment is there close at hand that can pick up and identify the early signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, so it can be picked up and treated there and then. The problem we've got, unfortunately, is that war-related trauma, that sort of thing, is still stigmatised. There's still some out there, surprisingly, who think that it's a sign of cowardice, it's a sign of weakness within the person. And the people who generally feel this way are people who have never been in action themselves, who don't know what it's like, but expect our soldiers, our boys and girls to go out there and do their damnedest for them, but don't realise the cost. And when they hear about post-traumatic stress disorder, they say, that can't be us, this isn't the British Army. You know, we don't suffer from things like that. And we have this kind of paradigm that's set into society's mind about these sort of conditions. So therefore, even today, it's still a very difficult thing to discuss for a lot of people.
Well, a number of servicemen come to public attention for being convicted as criminals after their military service for various reasons.
Yes, this is hugely worrying.
How does that relate to post-traumatic stress disorder, and why does it happen, do you think?
Now, when someone's suffering from some of this traumatic, if someone's debilitating as post-traumatic stress disorder, they don't put their hand up and say, look, I'm suffering, please help me. They try and deal with it themselves. I certainly did, you know, because you don't want your career damaged or anything else. You don't want people to think any differently of you. One of the things that most people do is self-medicate. That could be taking drugs. It could be from taking Nurofen, or it could be taking Valium, or it could be the biggest medicine that we've got is alcohol. And of course alcohol does help, it makes you forget for a while. But then you have to keep on taking it, you know, to subdue the symptoms of the disorder, and the person ends up an alcoholic. When you end up an alcoholic, you lose your family, you lose your home. Inevitably, you know, I mean, inevitably this will happen, and you'll end up out in the streets. You have to keep your habit going. Your alcohol problem might have changed into a drug-related problem. So you're stealing, you're committing crimes. It's estimated that there's some 8,200 ex-servicemen in prison at the moment. But I've been trying to find statistics about how many people are in prison, and the government figures and the veterans in prison figures do differ. So we don't really know for certain how many is in there. But we can also relate it to how many veterans we find who are homeless on the streets of our cities. Mm-hmm. Homeless because of what they've been through. This is another aspect of it.